Peter Zalmayev, the director of Eurasia Democracy Initiative, joins me now live from Kiev. Peter, good to have you. Now,
Hi.
when it comes to talking about aircraft crashes, I think it's very early to speculate anything at this point. But like Ali Mustafa said in his package, this is not a normal crash. It comes when Ukraine is facing perhaps the most brutal war in decades. So how likely do you think is it for it to be a sabotage?
Well, yes, at this point, I think it is speculative to say that, but I would not rule that out. Obviously, the Russian side has all the motivation. Now, I'm talking specifically about Vladimir Putin, who's actually supposed to be making an important announcement today regarding the war. It's in his interest to continue stirring the pot and destabilizing the situation in Ukraine. Mind you, that this particular internal affairs minister and his aides have been crucial from the early days of the war in holding off the Russian invading army from Kiev. In his position, he was responsible for neutralizing all these diversionary groups of saboteurs that were infiltrated in the capital early on during the war. And so he's a particularly important target for the Russians if they so choose to go after him. So it's too early to speak, but once again, the motivation is there to go after high-level officials. Don't forget that early on during the war, it was reported by Western intelligence services, among others, that the Russian plan included decapitating the Ukrainian leadership, which meant ministers, which meant President Zelensky and his family.
Right, and Peter, another factor that is being talked about is the weather. Now, you are joining us from Kiev right now. How's the weather like over there?
It was foggy this morning. It was covered with fog, especially in that part of the city. And Brovary, where it happened, is on the outskirts. It's an important industrial hub, which was the site of a fierce battle early on during the war. So, as we say, the fog of war. So, in this fog of war, we don't have all the, evidence yet pointing to anything conclusively. So, both in a literal and in a figurative sense, we're talking about a fog of war. Very foggy day to day, very foggy when it comes to the circumstances of this tragedy.
Right. And Peter, before I let you go, certainly the Interior Minister of Ukraine was on the hit list of the Russians as per some intelligence agencies. And now that he has been killed, what do you think it means for the future of the war in Ukraine?
Well, I think technically speaking, obviously the replacement will be found pretty promptly. It will be one of his deputies who will step up. I do not think it significantly hamper the will of Ukrainians to continue to resist that train of negotiating with the Russians has long passed the station, left the station. So I would be very, very surprised if this had any significant effect. The entire nation is united around the idea that the enemy must be routed from the entire territory of our country, restoring our territorial integrity to the 1991 borders.
Peter Zalmayev, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you.